To you.
We can go for another round of questioning at the end of this panel. Again, in order of seniority when the questioning began, followed by order of arrival, Mr. Costa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dinnan, it's different than Sacramento, but you'll get used to it. The chairman made a good observation about, the Bureau is the largest wholesaler of water in the entire country, 31 million acre feet on the average, I believe. And I think you ought to be making assessments, especially in the western states where it's so critical and we have growth patterns that are taking place. And if there is a bar, and I'm not familiar with that bar that took place previously about making these assessments, and we ought to look about removing that bar, because you can't be a good purveyor as the largest wholesaler of water in the West and not make these assessments about the change in growth patterns, whether it's New Mexico, Idaho, or California. So that's just food for thought, Mr. Chairman. I would concur with working on that. Let me get ground into some of the questions here. First of all, taking off on Mr. Denham's point on the San Luis unit. While it's 50% there, other federal service areas are at 100% on different regions within the state. What do you think, and I do applaud you, you have announced earlier than you have ever before the first early allocation, so farmers can plan and meet with their bankers and get the loans necessary. But I believe that here in the next 4 weeks, I mean, we have rain patterns going right now, and I've got actually the current flows and the snowpacks that are in both the Trinity, Shasta, Folsom, and New Melones, as well as Millerton Lake, that are prime reservoir supplies for this water. I believe the current flexibility that you're demonstrating is not being demonstrated with NOAA as it relates to the San Luis unit. Do you believe that's the critical area in terms of where we could get in April and May allocation, that we'll have to revert back to flows that would not allow us to exceed the 50% level?
Well, I'm not sure I'm following 100%. I think we are in good shape with the 50% allocation.
But I think when we got other areas that have 100% in the area, that we could get up to 60 or 70%, but we're going to have to cut back in April and May, as you know.
Right. You're absolutely correct.
And that flexibility that you are demonstrating is not being demonstrated, in my view, by the Department of Commerce under NOAA, even though we have these above-average rainfall and snowpack in the Sierra.
Let me point out something there. We are working very closely with NOAA, and I do think that we have a more coordinated and more flexible approach that we're applying to all these issues. I should say, though, you are correct. We are going to cut back pumping under the NOAA biological opinion in April under its terms. We will go back to a combined...
And that will be a reduction of 200,000 acre-feet of water, I believe.
I haven't done the acre-foot calculation.
That's okay.
It goes down to 1,500.
But we got to work on that.
Well, let me just mention, though, it's not just the NOAA biological opinion, though. That's April. May, we would be, whether or not there was a NOAA biological opinion, we would be restricting pumping in May. The Bureau of Reclamation operates its projects under state water permits. We have conditions on those permits. The permit, as it currently exists, has the Vernalis...
But you also have now two opinions, one by Judge Wanger on Salmonoid that has asked you to go back to the drawing board on that, and another one that is pending as it relates to Delta Smelt.
And if those are thrown out eventually, which actually isn't where the litigation is going, we will still have our state water permit conditions, which restrict our pumping in May.
All right. Well, to be revisited here. We'll have to sit down and talk about that. Let's move over to the San Joaquin River Delta Settlement Agreement. I mentioned in my opening comments that I think we've got a host of efforts that are not being done. First of all, the feasibility study by the Bureau of Reclamation has not been done in 2006 or 2008 or since the enactment of the legislation. Where are we on that? The programmatic efforts on the environmental impact efforts need to be done if we're going to mitigate for these projects. What's your plan to compensate for landowners for damages they suffered last year?
We are in the process and working with some of the landowners about the mitigation activities and the compensation for some of the actions that they've had to undertake because of seepage concerns.
No, I understand that, but them coming back to Washington and filing in small claims court is not, in my view, a satisfactory resolution.
And that is one part of the group that we have not been working with, that haven't engaged with us. We have others who have engaged with us. We have a mitigation program. We're doing the environmental analysis.
What steps are you taking to make sure that they won't happen again this year?
Well, we've installed something to the order of 100 monitoring wells in the system to understand better seepage. We do, as soon as we get our environmental compliance activities done, which we're scheduled to do this year, we will have a mitigation program. We will be able to compensate and take proactive measures to address the seepage issues, and we're kind of in the middle of that right now. But you're correct. We have ongoing issues associated with the release of interim flows, and we need to take care of that.
Thank you very much.
My time's expired, but I'd like to revisit it if we get a second round.
We'll definitely do a second round.
Thank you.
Mr. Tipton.